good afternoon to everyone. Great to be here. So today I'm not presenting eDNAqua-Plan work, but rather our national initiative for implementing eDNA monitoring in Finland. And I want to highlight that we are in no way a best example or a model example, but more like a random example of what might be going on nationally in countries, and how more towards the end of my talk, a little bit more also how all these recommendations that eDNAqua-Plan has been developing at the international level, how we might go about translating them into our national environments. But so I will present this eDNA roadmap initiative, and to start with, let me just tell you what few words about the background. So in Finland, for a while already, we have recognized the need for national coordination of environmental monitoring efforts. And one way in which this has been achieved is the preparation of the so-called environmental monitoring strategy, which is coordinated by the Finnish Ministry for the Environment. But it has been developed into a nice participatory process in which kind of reaches cross-governmentally and involves all Finnish organizations that are the key players in conducting and coordinating monitoring at the national level. And while during the most recent update process of this environmental strategy, new methods were increasingly recognized that they really need to be part of this strategy. But then this one strategy output is not enough, and we need to dive deeper into these new methods. And then that is one of the kind of springboards that started this eDNA roadmap process. And the purpose of the national eDNA roadmap, which you see the final publication you see here on the left, the purpose was to describe the national state of the art in molecular monitoring methods in Finland, to identify the main possibilities and challenges and development needs, to formulate medium and short-term aims, and to provide concrete action plan for the next few years to achieve this. But then actually we also had as an important aim to promote cross-organizational interaction in practice. So we also had a participatory process in the development of this roadmap, and we also included both the Finnish Environment Institute and also the Natural Resources Institute, Luke, which is also a major player in monitoring natural systems in Finland. So this was actually, in the end, maybe one of the most important outcomes of this work. And also another aim that kind of appeared is promotion of international coordination and collaboration. And again, this workshop where I am presenting this is one more example of how this national roadmap work has been really important also in international communications. So now I'm going to show you 3 key outcomes of this roadmap process, but the whole report is openly available and it's written in English, so you can find it and have a more precise look at everything that we have written there. I'm sorry about the voice, I have a bit of a cold. So the first outcome, we took a look at the scientific literature, not only for Finland, but internationally, to kind of get the context of how mature is the DNA-based monitoring methodology in general. And this later became a scientific publication that you see here. And the main result of this publication is that there is a high plurality of methods, and a lot of use cases, but most of them are fairly limited at scale. And examples of ready monitoring systems and routine implementation are still fairly scarce. And another outcome that sends the same message came from our international survey that we also carried out during this roadmap process, where we had 171 respondents representing 17 countries. Here is just the results from one question in this survey, where we asked them, the respondents, to judge for different types of monitoring at which stage of implementation they are for molecular methods. And here you see in the light blue the routine implementation, and it represents only a small part of the responses. And another thing that is striking in these results is that actually the majority of the respondents could not say what is the national status of implementation of molecular methods. So this highlights that we really need to improve the communication across organizations and between researchers and other groups. So then the second key outcome was about the national state of the art in Finland. So for this, we made an effort to collect information across different research institutes and monitoring organizations to collect information on the pilot projects going on that apply molecular monitoring methods. And then we compiled them into this table. And also here we see that there is a high diversity. These methods have been piloted and applied in a wide range of different ecosystems and different groups of organisms, but they are very largely in the testing and piloting stage and not yet in routine routine monitoring, with some exceptions. Then I have, because this was already a few years ago, I just wanted to highlight some of the kind of the maybe latest use cases. So since then we have moved a little bit towards more routine use. And I would say that we are approaching routine use now also in the monitoring of fish community composition. Maybe not routine yet, but still getting closer and closer. The same also for soil microbes and in invertebrates. Then we are also conducting like serious piloting, aiming towards routine use for freshwater macroinvertebrates, also for insect community monitoring. And then I want to highlight one pilot where I'm personally also involved, where we are trying to see how we could use eDNA methods to look at habitat quality, not only in aquatic, but then also in terrestrial environments. And there we are developing this range of different sample types, including air, wood, soil, and water, to kind of get a comprehensive idea of the state of the habitat. Then I have key outcome number 3. So we also, in this roadmap work, we tried to identify the chief limiting factors and challenges that are in the way of implementing molecular monitoring methods. And here we collected this information both in a national workshop and then also with the international survey that I mentioned already earlier. And the chief limiting factors that we identified are, not surprisingly, funding, but then also expertise and the lack of method standards. And in addition, reference sequence library and their gaps that we have also touched on today, and some other some other factors that I'm highlighting here. And I want to point out that this is also a few years ago, but in the Slido questions that are coming after my presentation, I would like to ask what is the main limiting factor today, because it would be interesting to see if it has actually changed from this. Then based on our findings, we formulated this vision in the roadmap that internationally standardized molecular methods should form a cornerstone of routine monitoring in the future. And we also then formulated or kind of dealt with certain development areas that we identified that would address the limiting factors that we identified. And then we formulated this action plan of very concrete things that we thought that would bring this forward. And as I say, this report is available and you can look at all these other actions that we proposed there. But now I'm going to say a few words about this national data management system, which is very central to the topic of today. Well, so first of all, after the publishing of this roadmap, this data management issue was kind of let to rest for a while. And then when we picked it up again, we started by looking in the mirror and kind of thinking what is actually the situation with the data management within our own institute at the moment. And this is this is the state of the art. And I think this applies also for many other organizations nationally, or in fact, I know it does. So generally, we are still in this state where that we do not have shared data management solutions, and practices vary from project to project. We don't have, or most organizations don't have their own databases specifically for DNA-based data. The responsibility for the whole data management cycle is often a little bit unclear. It's the PI of a project or the project manager, but who has the responsibility for data management after the project has ended is often quite unclear. Also, the practices for data publishing and sharing are variable, definitely not following in all cases the eDNAqua-Plan recommendations. So then we thought what to do with this, and we identified three different possibilities, like avenues, how to go about this nationally. And the first is that the question is, should we have a national repository, a national database for sequences? There are some examples of countries that have something like this. We don't, so should we do this? The second option is that we don't want to create our own database, but we do want to have some national services to facilitate the use of DNA-based data, and also the data producers' submission of DNA data nationally. And then the third is that we don't do anything nationally, but we rely on the international services. And we actually put this in one national meeting. We put this in a little bit of a vote. So we had a poll similar to this, the Slido polls that we have been seeing today. And most of the national stakeholders saw that this number two, with relying on international repositories, but then having some national services, that was the most popular option with the national stakeholders. So how to go about doing that? This now is again in the vision realm for our national digital landscape. So not existing like this yet, but what our vision is that we would like to offer fair DNA-based biodiversity data for all user groups, not only academic user groups, which we think already are fairly well catered by the international repositories and services. But we think that especially for the other user groups, the policymakers, the administration, they are the ones that also need especially the national services. So here we are, this is all still a dream, but we are especially building on the national biodiversity information facility and then some other existing national services where national users are currently using other types of biodiversity data. So we want to bring DNA-based biodiversity data to those services alongside the traditional biodiversity data. And this is my final slide. So now we are lucky that we have gotten some more funding to actually do something about this. So now we have a government-funded nature information infrastructure project where we are working together with the Natural Resources Institute Finland and then also with the Finnish Biodiversity Information Facility to make some of this envisioned national landscape a reality. And there we are especially going to start, as I showed you, we want to start by looking in the mirror and actually improving our within organization management. So we want to improve our local data management at our organizations, look at the data collection practices, making sure all the metadata is collected as it should be, it's recorded, the data is stored in a controlled way. And then we also want to work on this data publishing and sharing issue. So basically develop national best practices for publishing and sharing relying on these international services. So basically implementing eDNAqua-Plan recommendations at the national scale, but also maybe adopting or adapting them to our national environment. And then we also want to support data use, as I said, so really work on getting DNA-based data also to those existing national systems and platforms that are used by the non-academic national stakeholders. That's all from me. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry about the voice. And a special thanks for all the co-authors of the eDNA roadmap.